They come from places like Waterford, Auburn Hills, Canton, Heartland. How does a young airplane mechanic, DoorDash driver, Marine veteran, drug addiction counselor, and others become radicalized with such government hatred that they're accused of planning one of the most violent and shocking attacks on Michigan police, politicians, and the alleged plan to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer? The leader of the group, Wolverine Watchman Ty Garbin, taking the witness stand in the federal trial against 4 of the men, walking us through the timeline of events. His attorney, Mark Satawa, speaking with Local 4, can't talk about the evidence in the case while the trial is still going on, but he can see how all of this exploded during state COVID shutdowns.
The COVID part of it can't be separated from what our client did. Without COVID, a lot of things would not have happened, and I think that our client's path would have been significantly different but for the pandemic.
Croft, Fox, and others were bold about their government hatred on Facebook. The FBI was watching. Government COVID-19 restrictions, Barry Croft believed, state-mandated COVID shutdowns were illegal and equal to treason. June 6th of 2020, Croft had Adam Fox and other anti-government radicals come to a secret meeting at a Drury Inn in a swanky suburb of Columbus. An FBI informant was there recording it all. On those secret recordings, Croft tells the group, quote, "I might murder a cop, put his uniform on, and murder feds. I am not being hypothetical," and quote, "I am going to terrorize. We are all terrorists." Then the alleged plot, Garbin says, took off. June 18th of 2020, Adam Fox goes back to Michigan and attends this Second Amendment rally at the state capitol. That was a recruiting mission. Fox met Ty Garbin, the leader of a group calling themselves the Wolverine Watchmen. The FBI was on to this also. The informant says Fox was laying out a plan to use 200 men to launch a violent attack on the state capitol, and he had a target, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. The goal? Kidnap her and put her on trial for her COVID executive orders, or capture and hang politicians. The deadline? Attack by the presidential election in November. The member of the group went to police, and the FBI wired him for sound. Again, Ty Garbin pled guilty to his role and testified against the other members of the Wolverine Watchmen. And on the witness stand, Garbin made a stunning admission about why they allegedly wanted to kidnap Governor Whitmer. It's something we haven't heard before. Garbin said, quote, "We wanted to cause as much disruption as possible to prevent Joe Biden from getting into office." June 20th of 2020, Fox hosts a meeting inside a vacuum repair shop called the Vac Shack in Grand Rapids. Through Garbin's words, Fox said he wanted to firebomb MSP vehicles as they attacked to slow down police response and obtain explosives. Garbin says it was then time to train. June 28th of 2020, a training session in Munich, Michigan, on the property of another leader of the Wolverine Watchmen, Pete Musico. The informant says Musico told the group, "If you're not okay with the kidnapping, you need to leave at this point." Garbin says no one left. July 7th, 2020, a meeting at the Milford house of Paul Ballar to form code words to avoid detection from law enforcement. July 18th, the plan shifted. It was streamlined, now focusing in on the governor and her summer home near Elk Rapids. A mock-up of the home was constructed called a shoot house to practice a raid on the governor's home. There's talk of posing as a pizza delivery person, knocking on the governor's door and shooting the governor. Maps of the area were drawn. Members of the group surveilled the area around her home. August 9th, an explosive device was tested with the goal of taking out a bridge near her home so police couldn't respond. Garbin said he himself was busy trying to make explosives for the attack. August 23rd, an emergency meeting at Daniel Harris's parents' home in Lake Orion over fears that they've been infiltrated by the FBI. Garbin says Branda Caserta told the group, quote, "We need to shed the blood of tyrants." And this clip of Caserta was played during the trial from a video he made himself.
If we're doing a recon or something and we come up on some of them, dude, you better not give them a chance. You either tell them to go right now or else they're going to die, period.
August 24th, FBI informant recordings are made of Croft and Fox talking about kidnapping Governor Whitmer and leaving her stranded on a boat in the middle of Lake Michigan to send a message to politicians around the country. October 2020, with the election approaching, the FBI became worried that the group would get their hands on explosives and go through with the assault on the governor. October 7th, 2020, Garvin and Fox went to Ypsilanti. He says for Fox to make a payment on explosives, the FBI had heard enough. Agents were waiting for them, saying they had to act then to break up the plot before it could go any further. Mark Satawa says Ty Garvin pled guilty and testified against his own group in hopes of getting a lesser prison sentence. But Satawa says Garvin is truly remorseful and taking responsibility was the right thing to do.
Do you think at some point he will apologize to Governor Whitmer?
You know, that's a really interesting question. I don't know that the governor would want him to. I don't know what the sort of circumstances would be that would create something like that. I think he really did at sentencing. I mean, I thought his allocution at sentencing was very poignant in terms of how many people he let down and how sorry he was. And one of the people he specifically mentioned was the governor. And I guess even more than the governor, he directly apologized and recognized the fear that he caused in the governor's family and her children.